Hello and welcome to our next lecture. This is very important lecture in every programming language. Error handling. If we said error handling is a backbone of every coding, then this is true. So the error handling in this lecture we will cover the syntax, try, except, else, finally, error type handling, and rising exception. So what is actually the syntax of error handling? Very simple. Uh, try, then colon, then your code. I'm just printing this try. It could be anything over here, and then exception, except exception, and print. This is actually the basic syntax for error handling, but we can use the other thing like the else, print. I'm just making it else, and finally, and print finally. As I said, else and finally are both optional. So this is a basic syntax, try and exception. So what does this mean? The try to run the code for error. The try assume that this piece of code may or may not have error. So if any error happened, the try throw that error to the exception. The exception will catch that error that is under this try block, and it handle that error and will not break the system. Or we can do any kind of logic over here. We can throw that exception, or we can do our own basic logic. And for this one, else is that when we want an extra functionality after the proper execution of code, suppose we do not get any kind of error in the system or in the code, then we want something here. Or in simple wording, we can say that this code it depends on the proper on the successfully execution or in the successful execute of the try code. We want something here in the else, then we can use the else. And for the finally is it does not care either your code is completed successfully like it was in the try state or in the except case. So it will execute this line of code every time. So what is the purpose of this one for both, like the else and finally? As else is in only is in the Python, so in the other language I do not see the else statement, or but I do see the finally in other language like Java and C#. So the finally we use mostly, suppose we are making a connection with the databases or with the any kind of IO. So we want to release that IO. We want to dispose the objects so that we can release our memory. So we do our logics over here in the finally code, or in the final block of code, in the final statement. So this is about the basic error handling, and actually these all the error handling is derived from the exception class. If you do check here, this is a exception. This is exception class. All the error comes from this exception class. You can see the common base class for all non-exit exception. You can click the anywhere in this tool for additional help. It depends on you. We can write our own custom error handling, just driving or inheriting from that from this exception base class. So the next topic is about the error handling type. Suppose we want to check that error with the type, like which kind of error I'm facing. Suppose over here I'm printing a name that does not exist, so it comes here exception. But how we know that what actually this error belongs to? Let's actually print it at the top so we can check that what actually this error is. So you can see that this is a name error. So we can add multiple except statement in the try. Except this is the type of error. As I just printed, this is the name is the type is name is not defined. It means that the name is name error. The type I mean the data type of this error is considered is this is the type of the error. And we are just printing here, please declare your variable. Just some name. I'm just printing this only. Now you can see that when this error will occur, this line of code, this exception will throw the exception despite of this. Now you can see that please declare your variable. And the one interesting thing is that here is the finally. It executed, but the else statement is not executed. Why so? Because we are facing the exception. It means that our code is not successfully executed or not successfully run this particular code or particular or the statement of all this code. So that's why. And suppose I want to make it proper without error free, making it correct. Now you can see that we can check this is the thing name, it has print, and now the else statement is also executed, and then the finally. And another thing is that about the error handling, we can add multiple exception over here as I discussed. And another thing is that we can rise actually let it come over here. So this is the error, right? And I want to throw this exception despite of printing. I want to throw means that I want to crash the system. So very simple, here is the rise keyword, then the exception. This is our constructor for the exception, and we are just now you can see that our code is broke or our code is fault on it is throwing the exception. Rise exception, please declare. Here is the exception. And another thing is that suppose I want to check that either like x or maybe y, whatever you want to name it, like num is equal to 10, or let it make it first 10 in this way. Suppose in your system you are allowing to enter the age only in the integer, like a 1 2 3 4, or maybe you are forcing your system to accept only the age between 18 to 60 or maybe 90, whatever your range is. And in this case, in other case, suppose if the user enter the 15, so we want to raise the exception. Or another way that we can say that you are allowing only the integer value, like 1 2 3 4 5, but user has entered ABC or maybe the 7 in alphabet, like a SEVEN. So you still want to throw the exception. Or in other word, suppose you are getting the value from the user and you are doing some kind of calculation, right? And your calculation is very important for the system. You don't want any kind of 0.0 mistake in your calculation. So you want to warn the user, hey, this is the incorrect value, please correct this one first. You can use that rise an exception. So in this case, I hope so we have discussed more. So suppose I want to check that what is the type of this variable. So very simple, as I said already, discussed the type in our previous lecture. I want to just print that print type of x. So this will give us the number. This will give us the data type of this particular variable. Now this is a str string. Suppose I want to throw the exception if type x is int, then we want thank you, just for like we are printing that thank you. Or in the elif not this, then we can check arise and error. Arise exception. Please enter only int value. So it is giving me some kind of error because I did not enter the system. Now you can see that when I run this code, it will come over here. Please enter only the integer value, because this is not a integer. Actually, we can use only the not operator over here. We will not use this one. It depends on you. But for the simplicity, I have used the if-else. So this is how we handle the kind of error. Suppose I'm making it integer. You can see that it did not come here because let me actually use the else. Because we have make it reverse, so let it make thank you, or we can use a please. Let it make it same. If this is not, then we are using this other one. We are saying that please correct error, whatever you want to say. Please enter correct type or correct letter type. Now you can see that it comes here. Please enter correct, because we had mentioned this thing. If we remove this, now you can see that it comes to the thank you. So this is about the error handling, very powerful. So when we have decided to run a code without throwing the exception, without breaking the whole system, it is a good thing to manage your error handling in a proper way. If you are working with the IO or resources, you have to use a proper try and accept, so that your all the resources will not create any kind of error in your system. And as a developer, the developer is if you want a different than the other, you have to write a clean and proper error handling in your code. Then you become a very good developer in the market. I hope so you guys will enjoy this video. If you have any question or concern or any feedback, please let me know.